what happened with my two recent difficult conversations that I needed to have and had. That's what we're going to talk about in this video. Like, share, subscribe so you can see more of this. Let's get into it. So, in a recent video, which I will put somewhere on this so you can click back and watch it before you watch this, I talked about the importance of difficult conversations, having them and being good at them. Kind of emphasizing those are two different things. Just because you have a difficult conversation doesn't mean it went well. But if you had a difficult conversation well, it can set you free. But just because you're good at having difficult conversations, like when they actually happen, you conduct them well, doesn't mean that you're good at initiating the conversations. So it seems maybe an unintentional theme of this year might be that I emphasize having the difficult conversations when I know I need to have them, and really putting the thought and effort into doing those conversations well. One, being clear and concise, and two, fostering the other person's interests and emotions appropriately to show my level of care in those situations. Because generally speaking, I am talking to people that I care about with these difficult conversations. If they're not people I don't care about, then they're not very difficult conversations. So the first conversation was basically I was telling a small business owner that I've been working for about the last year that I need to stop working. Too much going on with family and school and other things up in the air. So this job also took a lot more bandwidth than I expected and than what I wanted to, because my role was not as well defined as I had hoped. And so I just figured it was time to put the cap on that. So I had that conversation. My boss took it extremely well, and after all of my kind of anxiety and hemming and hawing about one, I don't want to do this, two, how do I do this right, blah blah blah, how do I manage the shock or disappointment or resistance that I get, and when it was time, it was very simple, because for one, my boss seemed to know that it was coming, because as it turns out, something I forget from time to time is that most people are pretty perceptive. They are not just floating through the ether, totally unaware of the people around them. So when I told her, she was kind of like, yeah. She didn't say she expected it or knew it was coming, but she reacted as though she was. And so the first lesson in difficult conversations, and this is one I always have to relearn after each difficult conversation, is that it'll almost never go as bad as you think it will. It'll almost never be as horrible as your mind is telling you it will. That's just your brain trying to convince you not to do it. And then the other thing is that I handled this pretty well. I was very clear and concise about what this meant for the working relationship, when it was ending, if I would be sticking around at all, which I'm not, like in the sense that, reducing hours or anything. I just said, like, we're just done. Just clean cut, that way there's no opportunity for boundaries to get blurred or maybe get kind of pulled back in, as I'm so good at like kind of getting pulled back into things that I've pulled myself out of, but decided to keep just a toe in that pond, and then I get pulled right back into the pond neck deep. So I decided just to say no. So those are the two big things. Conversation went better than I expected, and I've kind of met my goals of saying what I needed to say clearly, but without being unnecessarily aggressive or confrontational about it. So first big victory, woo! Which as soon as I hung up the phone with that conversation, like there was like a 30-pound weight got lifted off my chest. It was nice. It was very good, very relieving. That immediately freed up a bunch of bandwidth for me personally. And so that was the first victory. The second victory actually happened. This victory happened over a week ago, a couple weeks ago now, I think. And this other one happened just a couple nights ago. And it's funny. I was sitting outside, just kind of staring up at the stars, drinking some bourbon, really enjoying the night, and had some clarity of this conversation that I knew I needed to have, but also kind of the purpose of the conversation. And the clarity really came in, like, what is it that I felt it was very important for me to say? Because there were several, there are a dozen things that kind of bounce around in my head that I could say. What's the benefit drawback of each of these? Will it help? Blah, blah, blah. So, I had that conversation the other night, and it went really well as well. I was able to say what I needed to say. I think I said it very clearly. There was one small thing that I kind of wanted to throw in there to soften what sounded, it wasn't meant to be, but it sounded like a critique of some people that we know, and I wasn't trying to critique them. So I wanted to throw in a little phrase of, like, that's their life, and they can do that, but I don't think that's you. And I forgot to say it, but, in the end, that is small thing to forget. I hit all the major points that I wanted to say. I emphasized that I cared, I think, pretty well. And the conversation was not super confrontational, because I've had some kind of like some of the come to Jesus talks with this particular friend in the past. And it's gone well. It's gone fine. But it's always kind of like, it always ends up me sort of lecturing, and the other person going, yeah, I know. And I remember when my dad used to have those conversations with me where I'm saying, I know. It doesn't mean anything. Like, it's a conversation that might as well not happen, because nothing being said is going to change whatever it is we're trying to change. And I'm barely listening anyway, because, when someone is saying, I know, usually that means, like, intellectually they understand they need to change something. But obviously there's some sort of roadblock that's preventing that, no matter, what, regardless of what that roadblock is. So that conversation went really well. Kind of made some things clear that I just wanted to say, like, I get that you do what you do, and that doesn't piss me off, but the way you do it sometimes is what frustrates me. And I think they took that pretty well as you can when you're trying to say something to someone about how, elements of the relationship you don't want. So, anyway, those are my two. We're still friends, which is great. Hopefully they will come and visit sometime soon. And yeah, so those are the two big victories. Having two very difficult conversations, neither of which I wanted to have at all. Both of which, after having, I was immediately happy to have done them and have the outcome that resulted in those conversations. And we'll kind of see. I'll kind of be living the truth of, is it true that having difficult conversations, the speed at which you have them, the clarity and conciseness with which you deliver what it is you need to say, and the effectiveness of how you manage the conversation, are those things really going to lead to a considerably better life? And I would say yes, so far. The results are premature, I guess. Not a ton of results so far. Kind of some results. But so far it feels good. And, like, I've got more room in my head to think about things. And that's good, considering we're about to hit the ground running with semester starting soon for school. So it's important to have some of that bandwidth, some of that space, and not having things weighing on me kind of in my psychological backpack that I subconsciously know are there. I'm not acknowledging consciously, which probably makes it worse, and it just wears on you, just grinds you down. So we're trying to avoid that in the near future, and try to keep you updated on how the difficult conversation having is going. Because I do think that's a skill that I've been not practicing. And it's an activity that I've been not doing. And so therefore I've been dealing with excess weight that I don't need to deal with. So keep you guys updated. Let me know, what hard conversations are you planning to have in the near future? And is 2026 a year you're trying to necessarily get better at the difficult conversations, at doing the unpleasant conversations, confrontations that need to happen, whether it's redefining a relationship, ending a relationship, new job, new boundaries, whatever you're doing? Let me know, because it's difficult and it sucks and it's not comfortable leading up to, but as soon as it's done, it's dope. So anyway, that's us thinking it through. I'll see you guys on the next one.